Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to NFL Fan Pub. This is Fan Pub video number 15 and this is a look back at 2014. And in this video we're going to look back and we're going to explain the reasons why that is important to your fantasy season in 2015. Basically, I'm going to take the 10 key learning points from 2014 and share them with you in this video. The reason I've decided to take a look back at this point in my video series is we are approaching rapidly drafting point. I know we've already begun the preparation process. In my case, I've been preparing since I lost the championship game in the main league. I won other leagues, came second in quite a few thanks to Andrew Luck, and we're going to share some of those experiences in this video. But I think it's very important to look back because it really helps you focus for the year ahead, and you can use some of that learning in this video, and I'm sharing it with you like I do in all my videos. And the first point that I want to really cover off here is there is no such thing, we just touched on it, as a safe quarterback pick. Now this may sound a bit odd. I mean, if we look at the great players here, Rodgers, Luck, yes, during the season they were fairly safe. I mean, they have a dip week in, during the week 5, week 6, whatever. It's not going to cost you a season, is it? It's not going to cost you anything, actually, really, other than one game of form. And you could still maybe get out of trouble if other players have better games. But in the playoffs, boy, did fantasy owners suffer badly in the playoffs. I'm just going to remind myself, I made a couple of notes, actually, on this. Peyton Manning from week 13 was absolutely dire. Drew Brees from week 14 was an absolute letdown. Aaron Rodgers was a disaster in week 15, and Andrew Luck in the championship week probably was an auto loss for a lot of owners, hence myself. So there isn't really such a thing as a safe pick. So bear that in mind as you draft your quarterbacks, remembering this. There isn't really anything as a safe bet. All you can ever do in fantasy football is guide your team into the playoffs, and the rest, as they say, you need a rub of the green. Second point I would like to make, or second learning from 2014, is this. The rookie wide receivers, I nearly said Wookie there, the rookie wide receivers of 15 are coming. They proved in 2014 what can happen. And the reason that this has started happening is interesting. We could spend many an hour discussing this. But I strongly believe, and have believed for a couple of years now, and it was really proved last year, that the college game in American football has been adapting to what the pros want and constantly does do that. Now, if we go back 10 years, rookie running backs were all the rage. 3 years ago, it was rookie quarterbacks. Now the wide receivers are almost pro-ready jumping in, which was always a struggle. And it comes back to that point I made in a previous video about knowing the wide receiver tree. A lot of players coming in have got a great knowledge of that tree, or at least have parts of it so nailed down that makes them an asset to a squad. So do I think lightning will strike twice in 2015? Yes, I do. And I do think there are rookie wide receivers out there that are going to be incredibly valuable to your team. I'm not saying they're going to be wide receiver 1 numbers, but some of them will certainly surprise us. Rob Gronkowski is my point number 3. Yeah, he's human. There's no doubt about that. For anybody who watched the footage of him in, I think it was week 14, 2013, against the Browns, when he had his knee bent back in a shape that I never want to witness again. I thought that was the end of his career, if I'm being honest. I didn't think I'd ever see him again. And pretty much all the way through training camp, he was battling coming back, to be perfectly blunt. And to be honest, for the first 4 weeks of 2014 season, the New England Patriots in general weren't really firing on all cylinders. After that, the man was pro Mr. Universe. I mean, it was left. The team left destruction in their wake, and Rob Gronkowski was unbelievable. Now he's had a pretty healthy off season. Fingers crossed, no setbacks in training camp. And I would say that this guy is an absolute lock as tight end number 1, no doubt. And interestingly, as I've said in a previous video, the gap between tight end number 1 and tight end number 2, and I'm going to put Jimmy Graham as tight end number 2. We can argue it a little, but for the purpose of the video, he's tight end number 2. The gap's got wider. The reason it's got wider, not that Jimmy Smith's a bad tight end, he's gone to a run-happy offence. It's fairly simple. No thought process needs to be required. Yes, they'll pass to him, but not as much as you think, as they say. Still a good tight end team. Point number 4 is all about Philadelphia Eagles, and their pass offense is far more a sure deal than their run offense. I think this has been proved from last year when you look at McCoy and the running game. Clearly the offense works very well for the passing game, and I think that's something to really bear in mind as you start thinking through the Philadelphia Eagles offense for this year. Irrespective of who's at the helm, I still believe the receivers will produce numbers there, but the running game, that requires some work. I'm not sure if the new man coming in is the right man for the job. Time will tell, see how it works out for them. But certainly the passing game certainly does work. So bear that in mind as you start thinking through the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, I don't want to get too much of a debate about McCoy. Clearly he wasn't firing on all cylinders last year. I don't know the reasons why. One maybe could guess that he's taken a step back. It's debatable. But for certain, given the tape on the Philadelphia Eagles and the way that Chip Kelly runs it, the passing offence is surely a fairly solid thing. Point number 5 is New England and Bill Belichick, actually, in general. Do not trust Bill Belichick's running backs. I haven't got a clue what he's going to do. If there's a learning from this for this season, I ain't touching him with a barge pole. Point 6. Le'Veon Bell is a bad man. That guy has gone on from strength to strength. You remember I pointed out before the skyrocket journey he's on. He has got better and better and better. Yeah, sure. You know, he's going to be suspended the first 4 weeks, but he will be invaluable to somebody down the stretch. The only concern I ever have with a situation like this is how does your team perform in those first 4 weeks when he's not available, and how does he start? Often it needs a few weeks for a player coming in to just find their feet. You often find this, teams get better and better and better as the season wears on. So bear that in mind. But for certain, you recruit Bell, you have got a stud. Point 7, Dallas Cowboys running game. With that offensive line, there is absolutely zero doubt moving into 2015 as they've strengthened it further. Whoever gets the starting job is going to produce RB1 numbers. There can be no doubt about that. It's not as simple as saying that they're going to be a stellar running back. That's a different matter entirely, but they will produce good numbers, no doubt. The biggest problem, of course, is who's it going to be? And they may not even be on the roster yet. So bear that in mind as you approach your drafts right now. Anybody that knows me for point number 8 will understand where I'm coming from. Gary Kubiak and I, as far as a fantasy owner go, I hate the man, okay? He has let me down so many times. But you know what? One thing Gary does do, I hope I can call you Gary, he produces deep, quality running backs. Now, I do think C.J. Anderson is going to get the gig. Yes, I do. And I do think he is going to produce some wonderful RB1 numbers for certain. And the track record of Gary Kubiak and what he does with offenses to produce this is undisputable for me. Coaching in the playoffs is another matter entirely. But running back one production, the man certainly knows his running backs, or he knows his onions, as we say in the UK. So I have no doubt they're going to, whoever that guy is, I'm assuming it's CJ, will produce great numbers. Point 9 is all about great receivers. Great receivers, actually, is one of the problems I find sometimes. You find fantasy owners overanalyzing this point. And I've certainly learnt this last year, the year before that. Great receivers can constantly keep giving you great production. Don't think they always have to regress. You know, don't have to always move backwards. So don't let anybody convince you that, you know, if you strongly believe something, so if you believe Odell Beckham is going to be the wide receiver 1 this year, go with your gut feeling, because he may just be that man. He might be the first to break 2,000. Who's to say you're wrong? So follow your gut feeling with this, but no doubt great wide receivers keep giving great production. And you just have to watch for the turn down when they start to not do it. That can happen quickly for some, and others it's slower, and you have a better chance of spotting it coming. There's an old saying in the NFL about it's better to be a year early than a year late, or as I like to put it sometimes, age before beauty. Yep, that's right, age before beauty. There are some great players, actually, who get knocked every time. They're too old, they're never going to produce the stats. Yeah, I suggest you look carefully at some of these players. I'll take a couple. Steve Smith, for example, is one player. Andre Johnson is another. Don't write them off. whatever you do, fantasy seasons hinge on older veterans who can still produce at the position. And more teams have won games because of that small swing, because you knew something the other owner didn't know, than anything else. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my 10 points that I've learnt from 2014, just as we gear up towards the draft points now. I begin drafting madly from basically the end of this week onwards to the end of August, and it actually, the way it's worked is beautiful. My most important draft, the key draft, is the last one, and I'm going to put that into a little bit of context. It's the one I'm most looking forward to, but a lot of people now are gearing up for their drafts, so always remember to look back, have fun, and basically all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, happy gaming, and see you again soon. Bye bye.